Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the founder of Cstgia, bringing you week 33 of Cyber Resilience 2025. And today we are talking about cyber deception, turning the tables on the attackers. This week, we're exploring one of the most fascinating and frankly underutilized tools in the defender's arsenal: the art and science of cyber deception. For most of cybersecurity's history, defenders have been on their heels. Think about it. An attacker only needs to find just one weak spot: a forgotten server, an unpatched application, a misconfigured cloud bucket. While meanwhile, defenders must protect everything, all of the time. That asymmetry has always tilted the game in the attacker's favor. But what if we could flip the script? What if instead of waiting for attackers to breach, we could lure them into environments we control, environments where we see every move they make, and then use that intelligence to strengthen our defenses? That's the promise of cyber deception. It's not about entrapment or trickery for trickery's sake. It's about buying defenders the most precious resource in cyber defense, and that's time. Time to detect, time to respond, and time to ultimately prevent the damage that would have occurred. So the game has changed. Let's be clear, the old playbook of perimeter firewalls and antivirus signatures is long gone. In today's hyper-connected world, where cloud workloads spin up and down in seconds, IoT devices fill every corner of our cities, our homes, and our businesses, and AI agents act autonomously to automate processes across that set, the attack surface is simply too vast. No matter how much you spend on tools, you cannot protect every door, every window, and every pathway. And attackers know this. They thrive on stealth, persistence, and lateral movement. They test for weak links, and once inside, they pivot quietly, often going undetected for weeks or even months. But cyber deception shifts that dynamic by planting decoys, systems, accounts, or data that look ultimately enticing, but are designed to trap those intruders, to force attackers to reveal themselves. The moment they interact with a fake system or stolen credentials, those alarm bells go off. Suddenly, the asymmetry isn't in their favor anymore. And here's the most powerful part. Unlike traditional alerts that might just flag anomaly detected, deception produces much higher confidence alerts. If someone is accessing a fake database that no legitimate user should ever touch, you know it's malicious, whether that's an external or internal threat. It cuts through the noise and gives defenders clarity. So how does this work today? You might be thinking, well, isn't deception just that age-old focus on honeypots? Yes, but today's deception is light years beyond the static honeypots of days of yore. In 2025, we see dynamic deception platforms that automatically create fake assets that are indistinguishable from the real environment. Imagine spinning up dozens of decoy cloud service that look exactly like your production workloads, complete with fake data, user accounts, and even transaction histories. Or consider IoT deceptions, Smart city grids now use decoys that mimic traffic control sensors or water treatment controllers. Attackers probing for weaknesses in critical infrastructure end up wasting days, weeks, or months inside systems that are nothing but illusions. And it's not just about tricking attackers, because every interaction with the decoy produces behavioral intelligence. What commands are they running? What data are they after? What tools are they using? This insights allow our defenders to map attackers' tactics, techniques, and procedures, i.e. TTP, specific to their environment, rather than relying solely on external threat intel and models. The results: faster detection, more actionable intelligence, and a proactive defensive posture. So here's a short case study to give you a concrete example. In 2024, a European energy provider piloted deception technology on its grid management network. They deployed hundreds of decoy devices designed to mimic real industrial control systems. Over 6 months, simulated attacks conducted by a red team engaged with these decoys 60% of the time before ever touching real systems. Not only did this drastically reduce the chance of impact, but the company also captured brand new TTPs from these simulated attackers, behaviors that had never been documented before. That intelligence was ultimately fed back into their SOC playbooks, making their defenses smarter and more resilient. And the kicker: their incident response time dropped by almost half because analysts weren't chasing ambiguous alerts any longer. They were responding to verifiable malicious activity. So what is the risks and the realities? They have to be balanced. Cyber deception is not a silver bullet, of course. If poorly implemented, it can create confusion for defenders, or worse, give attackers clues that the environment is being manipulated. Sophisticated adversaries, nation-state APT groups, may eventually detect static decoys and adjust their tactics. That's why modern deception must be adaptive, AI enhanced, and continuously evolving. There's also a great ethical dimension, because in government or defense settings, how far can you actually go with deception? At what point does passive defensive cross into active engagement? For example, is it acceptable to plant fake data that deliberately misleads adversaries? Does this fall into the entrapment gray area? These are not just technical questions, they're policy questions, and they require high and strict executive oversight. So while deception can be a game changer, it must be deployed thoughtfully, governed by clear rules of engagement, and integrated into a broader cyber resiliency strategy. And lastly, let's look at this through the leadership lens. For executive leaders, the takeaway is simple. Deception isn't about gimmicks. It's ultimately about enhanced resiliency. You don't need to know how to configure a honey token yourself, but you do need to ensure that your teams are asking the right questions. Where in our environment would deception add the most value? How are we capturing and using attacker intelligence in real time? Do we have governance frameworks which ensure deception remains effective, ethical, and strongly aligned with our business goals? Think of deception as an investment of reduction in your attacker's advantage. It's not about eliminating all risk, because that's simply infeasibly, but it is about tipping and tilting the odds back into your own favor. So my closing thought for this week is, here's the reality. In cybersecurity, speed matters more than anything else. The faster you detect an intrusion, the faster you can contain it, and the less damage is ultimately done. Cyber deception ultimately helps you buy that extra time. It wastes the attackers' resources while giving defenders the clarity that they desperately need. And in a world where attackers have traditionally held the upper hand, that's a shift worth embracing. So my challenge for you this week is to take one step towards harnessing greater deception in a positive, ethical manner, of course. Seed a honey token, run a red team drill, ask your SOC how deception could fit into your current architecture. Small moves that you make today can produce major resiliency outcomes tomorrow. Thank you for joining me for week 33 of Cyber Resilience, Protecting What Matters Most in 2025, where we discussed cyber deception, turning the tables on attackers. Next week, join me where we're going to tackle another current frontier, and that's quantum safe strategy and how organizations are preparing for the post-quantum era. Again, this is Dr. Rhonda, the founder of Cstgia, signing off from week 33.